Welcome back to the Fox Robbins Business Show. Step on into the parlor here. This is going to be fun.
I hope so.
Business fun? I don't know.
Well, business is fun.
Yeah. Okay. It's fun. This is going to be fun. This is the Fox Robbins Business Show. Our show is all about entrepreneurship and small business affairs. Anything and anything you ever wanted to know along those lines, which fills a library full of topics and interesting things to say.
Unbelievable.
So I don't think we're ever going to run out of anything to say. I don't know if you like that or not, but that's going to be the case.
Believe me, I've been told I'll never run out of something to say about something somewhere along the line.
I'm Bill Fox, the co-host.
He is, really,
the other co-host is a guy, you have to keep your eye on this guy. They say, up and down the street, they say that this guy is enthralling. They say that he's engaging. They say he is spellbinding. He's Coach Robbins.
Oh,
I don't know if that makes you the Rasputin.
I like that one. Yeah, actually, I like that one. I actually understood all three of those words, or at least two of them, anyway.
Well, this Coach, we're going to talk about getting back to business planning fundamentals, the fundamentals of your business plan and whatever.
Yep.
Guys, that's assuming that you have a business plan.
God, I hope so.
Coach,
a written business.
I saw an article the other day with somebody who said, "Don't bother writing a business plan. It's a pain. That's boring. You know, it's detailed, whatever. But make sure you know what your marketing plan is and what your financials are and what your administrative
and your processes
and your products and so. But don't have a business plan.
But just keep it all right up here. You know,
right.
Just don't write it down where anybody else can look at it, particularly your partners or the people who are very important to the operation of your business, because you just keep it all right up here.
This coming from the Fox Robbins Business Show, the answer is have a business plan. Okay.
You're damn right.
That's it. And this episode is about getting back to the fundamentals of it. The author is Tim Berry. And Coach, time to get back to fundamentals. I'm a big believer in that. I grew up in business. People going down the path and doing all kinds of fancy stuff. I mean, I say get back to the fundamentals, get the fundamentals right, and and also in business affairs, business conditions in your business can go up and down. It's never level, but there should not be, particularly if you think your business is having some problem, if your revenue is falling off or other difficulties. The author says, do not participate in what he calls knee-jerk cost cutting. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like grabbing the fire hose when you don't know there's a fire yet and spraying the shop full of water.
And it's a grease fire and you just spread it through the whole building.
Yeah. He says, knee-jerk cost cutting is not and that would be, what he calls knee-jerk cost cutting would be like drop a product. Sell off your inventory. Cut, fire employees.
Yeah, especially the really good ones.
Throw employees out the door.
Yeah.
He says fundamentals means getting into the guts of your business. Be a surgeon, not a butcher. Coach, yep. Are you with Tim Berry on this?
Completely. I mean, when it comes to fundamentals, you and I believe there are certain fundamentals in business that will never change. And the story I've always used is one of Jack Nicklaus. And those of you that know golf know that name. Those of you that don't know golf probably know that name. Jack Nicklaus is arguably one of the greatest golfers who ever lived. He had one teacher his whole life, Jack Grout. From the time he was young till the time that Jack passed away, Jack Nicklaus only had Jack Grout. And every year, right after the first year, when Jack was getting ready for the season, he flew Jack from Ohio down to Florida to stay with Jack for a couple of weeks. Yeah. You know what was the first thing that Jack Grout always taught Jack Nicklaus? How to grip a golf club. I mean, he believed in going right back to the fundamentals, starting at the beginning. You don't have to spend a lot of time with it, But right back to the absolute basics of gripping the golf club, posture, stance, different things. Jack Grout said 80% of a golf shot's made before you ever swing the club. That's basic stuff that you have to do every single time, and that's why I, too, in business, just get back to fundamentals. No matter what else has happened, the fundamental things that make you successful, they don't really change that much.
So you're 100% with this.
Yeah, and this thing, knee-jerking. I mean, I tell another silly story. I get talking about a lot of silly stories, I guess, as I get older here. If I were the type of doctor, you came to see me and I were a medical doctor, and I gave you a pill, and you said, call me in the morning, and you call me in the morning and you say, I've had a reaction. That's bad, right? And I say, okay, don't use that anymore. Use this pill instead, and then call me in the morning again. You call me in the morning, you say, I am responding to this medication. That's good. Same thing in business. You don't react. You don't react to anything. You will respond. You can't ignore, but you don't knee-jerk react to anything. You make good, solid decisions. You don't waste a lot of time, but you don't jump. You don't just jump.
I just think there are favorites in the business community is fire employees, get rid of employees.
Well, my sales are falling off. Let me cut my marketing budget. Yeah. What?
Let's go. To the author, Tim Berry, says his first or number one fundamental, check your business plan, goes back to our introduction a minute ago, is if you have a business plan.
You should have a written.
And please have a business plan.
A written.
And do not listen to advice that says, forget the business plan, it's a pain in the neck.
A written business plan, which is a living, breathing, moving document. And you got to refer to it all the time.
The author says, if you have no plan, get one.
Immediately.
That's it.
Just get started.
I got 2 words for you.
Get one.
Get one.
Right. Start one.
Track your business.
Yep.
We're going to talk more about that tracking. You don't have a tracking scheme? Get one. I got 2 words for you. Get one. Okay. Tracking scheme, like what? Well, cash. Thank you.
Cash, C-F-I-M-I-T-Y-M again?
We're going to get to that.
I'm sure.
Cash, sales or revenue, all your expenses, new projects. You got a new project going on. You're introducing a new product, introducing a new service.
New process.
Expanding to a different part of the marketplace.
Yeah. Pivoting.
Pivoting,
could be.
Yeah. New projects, tracking customer satisfaction. Tracking, I know that's one of your favorites.
Asking the customers.
Ask the customer.
Actually talking to them? What a novel idea.
So he's talking about, you don't have a tracking scheme, get one.
Yep.
Do you know what your cash flow position is?
Right.
Do you know what
not only where it is, where's it going to be? Project ahead 3 months and say, what do I see in the future on the horizon here?
I know, in sales, I remember I was with you when you asked a business owner, said, what were your sales last month?
I don't know.
Complete blank.
Right.
Don't know.
You got a problem.
Don't know.
Yeah.
What do you mean you don't know?
Should know. You should know.
Expenses, new projects, customer satisfaction. Here's a new one. I mean, for today's modern business conditions, internet traffic.
Yeah.
Advertising spending. In this case,
investing.
Yeah.
Investing in promotion. Right.
If business is falling off, that's the one you cut.
Oh yeah. Right. Yeah, good thinking.
Well, stop.
I'm dying of starvation. Good. Stop eating. That'll fix it.
Stop informing the customers about what you're doing.
Yeah, you're still here.
Also, the author likes to say, look for built-in indicators. Indicators. What, pray tell, is that? And this is a favorite. You don't know what your indicators are. Find out and get help.
Yep.
Like, what is the driver of sales for your company?
Yep.
Not for General Motors, not for GE, not for Apple Computer, but your business.
Right.
what is the driver and your expenses? Watch for early warning signs. What do those drivers think? Coach, explain to us, what is drivers of sales, drivers of expense?
Well, I guess for this show you can call me the king of metaphors. You see, when I'm flying my airplane, there are certain instruments, I got a whole bunch of instruments up there, but there are some that are really important, just key drivers. And when I say drivers,
you got this whole dashboard.
I got a whole
dials
array of dials and widgets, and some of them I don't even know what the hell they mean, but I know what the attitude indicator is, and that says my wings are level. This is good. I got another one that says altitude, and it's staying the same, and I'm at 4,500 feet, and it's not going 45, 4,000, 35, 3,000. You know, then I get worried, okay? So there's certain instruments, there are 4 of them actually, I won't bore you with all the details, but there are basic things that I want to make sure are going on. If I'm in the clouds, these are very, very important to keeping me flying. Same thing with your business. There are certain things you need to measure, and every business is a little bit different. To give you another example, I used to count invoices at the end of the day. How many invoices did that shop? Invoices. Now, the invoice could be 10 bucks. It could be 2,000 bucks. But every single time I did it, it always came out between $125 and $150 was the average invoice. So if I did 500 invoices, I knew what my sales approximately would be that day. And it was amazing how close it came out to that. And so there was
also quick.
It was just quick and dirty at the end of the day.
Blessedly quick to do that, to get that indicator.
How many invoices did I have? It's just a heuristic. It's just a rule of thumb that said, well, my sales today were probably in this neighborhood.
The doctor takes the stethoscope and,
it's beating.
And here's a beat, and that's good.
This is good. And you got a pulse. That's also good.
That flying, again, you're flying all those gauges. I mean, sure, there's ones that you check, maybe you check but less often, perhaps, like oil pressure would be. Or,
all the time.
Of course, fuel level is nice.
Yeah. It's nice to have fuel. It's nice to have oil pressure. It keeps the engine running.
Yeah.
Because, if you're up at 4,500 feet, you want that thing running.
Yeah.
Especially if you only got one.
Right. We're continuing on with the author's first fundamental.
Yep.
Here he gives, he's giving further examples of drivers along the lines that you were talking about here, like street traffic.
Yep.
Floor traffic, internet traffic.
That's a biggie today.
Email response, deal flow, new lead generation. I mean, you're suggesting here that business owners need to pinpoint and watch these whatever key indicators is that altitude gauge on your company.
We call them KPIs.
Yeah. You said count the invoices.
Yeah.
These are other examples, but it serves to show that business owners need to sift through the interesting and get to the vital few.
Yeah, and these are warnings of potential good or bad, which is what you're really looking for. And I mean, different people have different strokes for different folks. There's different key performance indicators for every different business. Yeah. What is key? Like I say, it sounded silly that at the end of the day, I wonder how many invoices did each of my stores write, and I knew. I got a little fax that said today we had 188 invoices, and I multiplied that by 150 bucks, and I knew, well, that's about what they sold today. Yeah. At the end of the month, I got a call from each store manager that said, here were my sales this month, I think. By the 10th of the month, I had the financial statements, but I wanted to know approximately, which we would check, what were the sales for each store? And I knew roughly what break-even was. Yeah. And when the sales were far above the break-even point, I felt pretty good looking forward to getting those financial statements on the 10th of the month. But just initial indicators of, gee, I wonder, feeling the pulse. Right. Doesn't mean you're healthy, but you do have a pulse, so far we're okay.
The author says, don't wait till it's too late.
Yeah.
Look for early signs.
Right. Don't wait for the patient to die and then go check the pulse. Too late.
We're still talking about the first fundamental. When the author says when things get tough, shorten the business planning cycle.
Yep.
What does he mean by that? He means review progress more often.
Yeah, more than monthly. Do it weekly.
Zoom in on
Do it daily.
Zoom in on those fundamentals.
Exactly. Especially.
Weekly versus monthly, monthly versus quarterly.
Yep. If you're struggling with cash flow, and we're normally looking at cash flow documents once a month, then all of a sudden you got to really pay attention to cash flow. Do a 9-week cash flow pro forma. It goes beyond the scope of this show to explain exactly what that is, but boy, every week I'm going to project, here's how much money I think I'm going to collect, here's what I think I'm going to spend, and oh my goodness, I'm going to run out of cash, I think, in 3 weeks and won't be able to meet payroll. Well, what am I going to cut back on now so that I don't run out of cash? Because again, CFIMITYM.
That brings me to the second fundamental. That exactly brings me to the second fundamental, which is CFIMITYM, which is
cash flow is more important than your mother. And that's putting mothers on a very high pedestal, ladies. Don't take offense. I had one woman take offense to it. I said, why? It's glorifying motherhood, which it should be. Oh, yeah, you're right. I looked at it wrong. But when it comes to your business, unless your mother's rich and she can write you a check and you got to make a Friday payroll, you got to write cash. So cash flow keeps you in business. If you got cash, you're still in business. Now, I don't know how long you're going to have cash. You keep losing it, but that's a different story. But for right now, you need to pay attention to your cash position.
That cash flow is so, I mean, you got to keep the lights on.
Yeah.
You got to keep the door open.
Yep.
You got to pay the rent.
Yep. But you got to pay the people.
And you got to pay your people
on Friday with cash.
Right.
They expect a check.
A check that doesn't bounce off the floor when you drop it.
Right.
Watch the drivers. You said you could do was it a 9-week?
You do a 9-week cash flow pro forma, meaning.
We're going to get you back on to talk about that.
Yeah, that's a whole show unto itself. But what I'm going to do is saying, here's how much cash I have right now. Here's how much cash I expect to collect next week. Yeah. Here's how much cash I plan to spend. And what's the difference? If it's still positive, well, maybe I'll go ahead and do it, but I'll take a look at the next week. And we do that for 9. When things get tight, you do a 9-week cash flow pro forma. When things are rolling okay, you check it every month, certainly. But when things get a little tight, you got to focus down.
Or if you ain't got the cash, where are you going to
Where are you going to get it?
That could involve a quick trip down to your banker.
Exactly. And say, you know what, I'm going to need a line of credit because I'm going to need $50,000 in about 8 weeks. Yeah. Which I'll be able to pay back once I collect some of those accounts receivable, but you got to pay attention to it before it happens.
The author Tim Berry, he concentrates on something called burn rate.
Yep.
Quote, burn, B-U-R-N rate versus revenue. He says you start looking at fixed cost, which are costs even if the business were closed.
Yeah.
A rent.
Yeah. If you've signed a lease for 3 years, and you know whether you're selling something or not, you're going to have to pay the rent. You might close the business, and you know you're could be responsible for that lease, even if you personal guarantee some corporation. Yeah. And you're going to look to sublease it, but in the meantime, you're going to be paying that rent every month, even though you got zero sales.
Or Guido shows up at the front door.
Right, and says, you know, you still owe it. You know, if you sign the lease, you sign the lease.
Burn rate, he says, the author defines, he says, that's burning of cash, by the way.
Right.
Subtract variable and direct cost.
Yep.
That is cost that is driven by sales.
Yep.
If you don't have any sales, you don't have those costs, whatever those are.
Right.
Okay. And that might be salaries.
Sure, you got to pay them every Friday or every
rent. You mentioned the rent. Sales and marketing expense.
Yeah, stop right there. That is one cost you can make some adjustments to, but after the fact. In other words, if you're running ads in a newspaper or whatever, and you don't have a contract to do it, yeah, maybe you can make the ad smaller, maybe that's not something that's feeding your sales funnel, and maybe that's not being effective, you should stop it anyway.
Yeah.
So you can make some decisions about that. You can make decisions about salaries too, but like we said in step one, you don't want to just arbitrarily start cutting people out, you know?
Right. But you have office expenses.
Joe?
If the revenue goes down, that the burn rate will hurt your profits, but not for long.
Yeah, eventually you run out of cash and you're out of business.
Right. So we're still on the second fundamental. Cash flow is more important than your mother.
Right.
Keep your revenue. You're looking to keep revenue above the burn rate.
I know this gets confusing, but let me explain to you simply the way I understood it for almost 40 years. The gazintas got to be bigger than the gazautas. It's just that simple. Okay, cash flow has a timing effect. The gazintas got to be bigger and come in faster than the gazautas. But just profitability, you got to have revenue above whatever you're spending. It's just that simple.
Well, you gave me. I have a picture from you of the top of a desk at a business with an inbox and an outbox, and the pile of cash on the inbox is taller than the cash in the outbox.
And I say, good.
I said, you said when you sent me that, you said, you want to know what business is all about?
This
is it.
An inbox full of cash,
right.
An outbox with a couple of bills, and the rest is yours.
Speaking of cash, the author makes a point, speaking of that cash flow, if you are a business to business, if you're a B2B rather than a business to consumer, you're a business to business could mean slower payment.
Yep.
Businesses like to collect fast and pay slow.
Well, because they turn you into a bank if you're stupid enough to let them.
Yeah.
You know?
So all of a sudden, that receivable goes from 30 to 60 to 90 to 120.
Well, once it's at 120, you ain't getting it. Okay, you can write that off, because if it goes that long, it's highly unlikely you're even going to collect that money.
So the author says, know your receivables. No,
critical.
No.
On top of that stuff, I told you, I had a woman who worked with me for a long time, Jenny, and Jenny was in charge of collecting my receivables, period. And I would have people call me and say, hey, Jenny shut me off, can you help me? And my answer was no. And I'm standing at the counter one day, and I've told this story so many times, and Jenny come out of their office screaming at me, Bob bounced a check, $3,700. Don't you give him a darn thing. And she didn't say darn either. Yeah. And of course, the countermen are all heading down the aisles because Jenny's on the warpath. I put her in charge of collecting my money, and that's it. I wasn't going to usurp anything she decided. And she leaves. And she's telling me, don't you give him a thing, and don't anybody, until he gets in here, makes that check good, and brings his account up to date. Boom. And she walks away. And at the counter is a very good electrician of mine, and he looks at me and goes, Cliff, don't you own this business? And I said, yes, Guido, I do own the business. I said, you going to mess around with it? He said, hell no. My check's in the mail first of the month. I don't want to hear from Jenny. Collect your money. It's not a sale until you collect your money. It's a gift.
The author says, know your receivables. If I ask you, I come up to you, you're the business owner, I say, what are your average receivables? And if you say, I don't know.
Yeah, you're in trouble. Yeah. You say to me, what are my average receivables?
I
say, as of right now, my average collection days are 44 days, and I've got, 160,000 over 30 days, and I've got 3,000 over 90 days, but that's in collection.
But instead, you told me you don't know.
You're in trouble.
Yeah.
You're in trouble. You got to know this stuff. Well, you're not in business. You know what? Sell the business.
And you had Jenny, but it says collect hard.
She's hard. She was tough. A lot tougher than I was.
That's when we say collect hard, that's what we're talking about.
Plus, I mean, I couldn't ask for business and at the same time collect it. So Jenny, she's in charge.
So you could offer incentives like the 210 net 30 type of thing.
That's exactly what we offered. We had 2/10.
Get down payments. You're afraid to ask for 20% down?
If it's a special, I would ask for 50% down. If I couldn't return it and this guy cancels it, and I get it, what am I going to do with it?
The third fundamental is people, the people issue.
Yep.
Coach, we talked about people. Layoffs.
Most important asset.
The time comes when layoffs may be required.
Yes.
But don't lay off too soon.
Don't react.
One thing is know your cost of employee turnover.
It's expensive.
How many business owners do you think know what the cost is to kick somebody out the door at turnover?
And then replace them.
Yeah.
Or that good employee who leaves, then it's going to take you 3 months to replace them, 6 more months to get them up to speed, and maybe they're not as good.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. So know the turnover impact on customers.
Yep.
And so forth. So this is the people issue. Okay.
Your people are your most important asset, period. I just saw something by Virgin Airlines, Sir Richard Branson, and he said, my people are my most important asset because the people take care of my customers. Yeah. And I said that years ago. For decades I've said that. Your employees are your most important asset because they're the ones that are in touch with the customers. Right. And if they're dedicated to the company and you, and they love their job, and they're motivated to do a good job, your sales, your customers are going to be happy because those are the people that deal with them. I couldn't be in 6 locations all over southern New England at one time. Yeah. I can move around pretty fast, but not that fast.
So we've gone through the 3 fundamentals here.
Yep.
Getting back to business fundamentals.
Yep.
This is always crucial.
Absolutely.
To the running of your business.
Yep. Learn how to grip the golf club.
Well, thank you guys for being in on this episode. Stick with us. This is the Robbins Business Show. Every episode that we do is uploaded to YouTube for convenience. So there's a library of shows. Go to YouTube and in the search box, just put in one single word, Fox Robbins, Foxrobbins, and click, and voila, there's a inventory of shows, and simply pick one that is of current interest or current value and go from there.
You got it.
Thank you, Coach. See you guys next time.